Any other questions? Going once, going twice? Do you have an adapter?
I'm going to do a website as well.
Okay.
Do you need
No, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
That come through okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, hey guys, my name's Mike Dupas. I'm Platform Product Manager at LinkedIn. I'm responsible for our APIs, most of our platform technology scenarios, in particular identity service and profile, which I'm going to talk to you about today. A quick recap of the LinkedIn platform. We actually only opened our platform up about 15 months ago, in November of 2009, so we were a little late to the open platform game, but we're working hard to catch up. We require OAuth for everything, so we're actually one of the first platform providers where everything is based on OAuth. We never did a basic auth, and never did anything cookie-based or proprietary auth. Everything requires OAuth. All API calls, everything is user-based in LinkedIn platform. So we don't have two-legged APIs where a developer or startup can chat with LinkedIn and search across the networks, across profile data or company data. Everything is on behalf of the user, from a user perspective. We have a pretty healthy set of the basic REST APIs: fetch a member's profile, fetch their connections or their friends on LinkedIn, so to speak, access their stream, consume their stream, post rich status updates, search the network, all that kind of stuff. This is open. Come one, come all. You can API to something calls today. Also, we have in-apps. So that's our on-property gadget platform. We have, I think, around 20 apps today. We actually just launched today a cool GitHub LinkedIn partnership app, but that's clearly limited to partners and not an open platform just yet. So why am I here today? Professional identity. So we believe a critical scenario for the LinkedIn platform is to empower our members to carry their professional identity, in particular their professional profile, with them across the web with confidence and with fidelity. So what does this mean? It means basically LinkedIn platform straddles the line between being an identity provider, or just say I am Mike and my ID is XYZ, or saying I am Mike and here's my rich profile data. Here's a structured document of my resume, where I've worked, where I went to school, and my activities. We typically lean more towards that profile. Most people who come wanting to consume LinkedIn as an identity provider actually want to get access to rich profile data as opposed to just doing social sign-on. But long story short, this is a core scenario. So empowering our members to take their professional profile around the web and have faith and confidence that LinkedIn is the canonical and safe store for that data. That's very important for us. If we fail this scenario, I'd probably get fired. So starting last year, about 14 months ago, we said, okay, what is the best way to deliver comprehensive identity service across the web? In our analysis, we broke down into 4 different components. So OpenID, we built OpenID, but we actually never launched it, and it's deferred indefinitely. And I'll talk about why, what led us down that path. OAuth 108, which I'll talk about. This is our preferred identity profile solution, getting a full OAuth authorization that users can manage, and then fetching the user's profile via OAuth. OAuth's a little complicated, so we've been investing in a more lightweight JavaScript client-side solution, which is sort of a Connect-style technology. I'll chat about that. And then working, as Eric mentioned, the vendors. Eric said, it's still very hard. Vendors are the way to go for many use cases. I agree strongly on that, and so we're very eager to support partners, aggregators, anyone in the identity vendor space, and I'll talk a bit about that later. So these are the 4 areas where we focused our efforts over the past year. And feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. Please don't hesitate. So why not OpenID? So OpenID is a very powerful technology. I think its strength is its flexibility, where any user can grab an identity from any provider and take that to any consuming site. That's a great technical accomplishment for the protocol. But LinkedIn, our profile data is very sensitive. Every day, hundreds of people wake up saying, I'm going to find a way today to scrape or grab or abuse LinkedIn profile data, so we have to be very careful with it. And that's difficult from a user comprehension standpoint. User goes to a third-party website and they see a button with the LinkedIn logo. There's a bit of trust, some of that strong brand trust they have on LinkedIn.com that flows whenever they see a logo, whenever they see some kind of authentication authorization flow. But to be very careful. So we built OpenID and actually had a kind of stealth launch in production. But we've ended up turning it off just because we must have coupling with the developer. For the consuming party, we must know who you are. We need the developer to register, accept our terms of service. We need all of our inbound traffic to have an API key, signing so we can throttle it, manage it, track it, do metrics. This is basically a requirement for us to kind of protect our brand and more importantly to protect our users. We actually, it's a very common abuse case we have to tackle where a site wants users to log in with LinkedIn just so they can grab their profile data. So the site's not necessarily malicious, but perhaps disingenuous. They say, come sign in with LinkedIn, we'll give you something awesome. But really, they just want to start grabbing professional profile data. So we must be very careful. We must be vigilant on terms, and that requires developer registration, developers clicking through. And every call that comes in, I have to know who that's coming from, and I have to be ready to pounce on that person if they're doing something that doing a disservice to our members. So unfortunately, for right now, we're deferring OpenID. We don't offer it at this time. Instead, our OAuth 1 flow, this is our recommended approach. Sure.
When you say deferring OpenID, do you mean as an IDP or a line party?
As an IDP.
As an IDP.
Yeah, yeah. So at this point, we don't offer, you can't use OpenID for a consumer to take his profile or his LinkedIn identity across the web currently. For that, we recommend OAuth 1, and we put a lot of effort in here. We put a ton of time in trying to make our OAuth 1 implementation as good as it can be. All of the common libraries, Java, PHP, Ruby, what have you, we test those regularly and do regressions. We really want a quality but familiar and conventional OAuth 1 experience out of the box. This is where I steer folks. When folks come to me and say, I want to leverage LinkedIn profiles, saying this is where you need to be. And there's some subtle tweaks to the OAuth flow. I think as originally envisioned, the OAuth flow going through the OAuth flow was a pretty heavyweight action because a user is conferring permission to a third party. That's a big deal. And a subtle tweak on that use case as well, I already conferred this developer, I already gave access, I already granted permission. But you know what? Let me just kind of remind us all of that fact. So I'm a new web browser, new machine. I want to go back to that same, I'm using a Twitter app. I want to go back to that same Twitter app. I already granted them permission, but I need to identify myself again and refresh and retrieve that access grant again. There's something Twitter pioneered, and we've adopted as well, is we offer an immediate redirect flow. So if you want to use our OAuth authorization flow, but instead of presenting the user with this form every single time and asking them confirmation, you can say, actually just redirect immediately if a grant already exists. And that's incredible, like tens of percentage points conversion increase on this flow, and we offer that, and that's where I steer everyone using LinkedIn for identity service. And then once you make a call, then once you get an OAuth token and have a token for the user, this is just a simple REST API call, very standard, to call, fetch the current user's profile, and we have a variety of fields. You can say, give me their education, give me their most recent 3 educations, their entire employment history, give me their skills, specialties, the entire kind of resume data that we have. One thing I'm interested in is people come to me and they want to implement logging with LinkedIn. They want a sign-in button. They want the user's profile. And currently, I have to tackle them. You must do the OAuth dance. You must start with this button and then work through the variety of signing and hops to get over here. And then once you've done that completely separately, you must make an API call. The good news is up here, a lot of standard OAuth libraries are finally converging with the top providers to where you can go grab a Java jar and drop in your LinkedIn endpoint and your LinkedIn API key, and that works. But then you must also go make the call. And the endpoint to make a profile call is different across the providers. So my humble suggestion to the OAuth community, for folks like LinkedIn who are pushing OAuth as our identity conduit, our indirect identity conduit, I'd like to standardize or at least make conventional the way to fetch a profile document. So if you use a off-the-shelf OAuth library, you get a token, some standard call as part of the OAuth library saying, fetch profile, and you get back just a JSON blob or an XML document, which of course will vary for the different providers. But making this step easier, so there's actually a significant drop off of people once they've done this flow, trying to make an API call and fetch the protocol call. So that's OAuth 1, which thankfully is getting much better over the past 18 months in terms of developer familiarity and available docs and comprehension in the community. But OAuth 1 is still very, very complicated. And so inspired by what Facebook's done, and inspired by what Twitter's done. We've been working on a client-side API here, to where you can drop in a JavaScript component, and our browser takes care of rendering a login button, checking your API key, and handling the OAuth 2 user agent flow on your behalf. We have this working. We launched last October. It's early access now, but we're going to invest heavily in rev this pretty soon. But so inside your HTML page, you just include a bootstrap file, platform.linkedin.com in.js. You pass in your API key, and wherever you want a login button, you just add this kind of amended or hacked script tag, and we render this button. User clicks the button, and we take care of the entire flow on your behalf. We do the pop-up, the user walks through, we close the pop-up, and then inside that browser, you have a OAuth token, a bearer token, and we'll write it to a cookie on your domain, and then you can actually exchange it to get a long-lived OAuth 1 token. So we're hoping, this has been a big investment for us over the past 8 months, to make the OAuth dance as simple as possible. And happy to talk more or show a demo. I have a couple demos I can show of that. So identity aggregators, Eric already covered this in depth, but there's a lot of great companies. I know, I think Jen, Ray, and Vidyar and others are here today. We love these guys. This stuff is honestly still non-trivial, especially for a site or for a community with limited technical resources. I did a call with a company 2 weeks ago who they provide infrastructure for nonprofits, and they're basically business networking, PR, communications resources, and they have limited technology, tech chops, and they wanted to do social sign-on, they wanted to push LinkedIn, and I actually recommended that they pursue some of the aggregators, some of the vendors, because I can't in good conscience tell them to chase down my API and then go chase down an API from Facebook or Twitter. There's the individual providers are all working hard on making quality APIs, but there's still a unit cost with every single one. That's a big upfront capital expense for a relatively small site. So I love the aggregators, very eager. They're first-class citizens on the LinkedIn platform, and I'm very eager to help push and drive adoption here. Yeah. So what are some limitations of using LinkedIn or current identity support? We don't provide the user's email address. This is kind of a special challenge for us because the way LinkedIn works, where you invite coworkers frequently, a lot of the times the email address we have is like your current work address. And handing this out, a lot of times it's exactly not what the user wants to hand out to a random site online. We hear this quite frequently. It's our #1 adoption blocker for identity. We know that. We still have a lot of sites that are successful, but we're exploring ways to improve this, doing something where inside our confirmation flow we can say, do you want to share email? And you pick an email or enter a new one. So we're still exploring this. But that's a problem there. And we need to finish OAuth 2. We currently just have the user agent flow for our easy client-side technology, but we probably need to get around to doing that. But other than that, so we're under the impression, that after years worth of work, that apart from these two issues, we're about as good as we can be in terms of standard identity technology that meets our product requirements. If you have any counterexamples, don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know, and my team will jump on it. But we do think we're zeroing in on being a good table stakes player in identity space. And here's a good quote, a good PR safe blurb I have where Jan, Rain, Engage, folks are here today who they aggregate LinkedIn identity. A newspaper aggregation network. They dropped in Jan, Rain, Engage. That using the aggregator alone got them a 12% bump, and then 25% of all their vendor source aggregator facilitated logins were actually LinkedIn in the first 3 months. So there's a good, even with lack of email address, there's still amazing potential here. And I'm eager, I want developers and consumers to leverage this in the easiest way possible for them. I think a lot of that is making OAuth work well for identity, and helping the aggregators, helping the vendors succeed. Questions? Sure.
Yeah, so I understand the technology very well, but give me a sense of, from LinkedIn's perspective, what business value you're getting from doing this.
Sure.
And from the perspective of the people using the LinkedIn identities, what problem are you solving for them?
Sure. So for us, profile completeness is one of our core metrics. We want to power a site where professionals, I think our addressable market of professionals going after something like 500 million around the world. We currently have 90 million of those. We want to create a site where all 500 million professionals around the world feel safe and feel eager to share their public professional identity. And part of that is making sure it's not siloed in LinkedIn, but they can take it wherever they go. So imagine you register for a conference, and you go register for a conference. We're going to go talk about cloud computing in Las Vegas, something, and you go click register, and there's a 3-page flow where the conference wants to know all about you. So LinkedIn should be there. Like if you're going to a professional conference to network, it only makes sense that the professional network, LinkedIn as we hope to be, that should facilitate that. So my pet scenario for the LinkedIn platform is every time I go to a conference, I want to register there. I want it to grab my current LinkedIn profile, my stream of professional activity, what I've been sharing and tweeting about, and then I want it to see who do I know, who are my professional connections that are going to be there, etc. So it's a bit askew from normal identity use cases. Someone who said this Yahoo address or this Gmail email address is my identity for social sign-on purposes. It's a slight tweak on that. It's more on the profile edge. But basically, anywhere you see 8 text box input, a registration flow, or a sign-in flow where you just present your professional self, I want LinkedIn there to help users there. And also, the more we drive that, the more it helps people believe LinkedIn is the best place to keep your professional identity online. Does that help?
So one of the things that I hate about LinkedIn and Facebook and some of these compared to the OpenID model is the API key registration.
Totally.
It's a serious problem, and I think it's going to be a barrier to adoption in that every single, and the other thing is that in order to get that API key, you have to link your personal LinkedIn account, your personal resume, right, to whatever test application you want to do just to have login, and that doesn't seem like a valid link. Have you guys looked into possible innovation around that?
So I think the aggregators are a very good mitigation there. Where I know someone who goes to say a Jan Ring and they say I want to add LinkedIn and various other networks. Generally, they have pre-canned instructions saying go here, walk through this flow, go here, walk through this flow.
Right, but we
it's
can't
very easy.
control that. All we can do is send people off with a big page of instructions, and it's different instructions for each of the sites. It would be great if there was a delegated way where I could say, I'm King Identity, I'd like to register an API key.
On behalf, so you have an API key provisioning service.
Right.
I think the challenge there, I think, is more on the legal side in terms of service. So if we could build a API key provisioning solution where part of that was, it's like an OAuth authorization flow where there's a huge 10-page terms of service there. I think that could work. I don't. I'm not sure. I'd be curious. If to make up a number, I have no idea. If 70% of relying parties can be directed from an aggregator or vendor, go through those instructions, and 70%. And if we go build an API key provisioning flow, do we go from 70 to 80 or 70 to 90? I'm curious how much there is actually tool in there, but I do agree that that would do wonders for my adoption. LinkedIn is typically, it might be number 3 site, or number 3 site, or 4 site that a relying party wants to pursue, and whatever I can do to make that experience more uniform while still getting the legal protections and the registration protections to help protect my users, I'm all for that. But yeah, so definitely.
Is there any plan on the LinkedIn side to become a relying party or accept?
Honestly, I can't speak to that. I can follow up. We have on the side of our registration flow and address book import. We have a lot of people working there. I don't believe at this time we have any intent of being an RP for day-to-day sign-ins, but I can follow up on that. I'm more on a platform Anything else? All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.